I want to take a moment and speak directly to people that are in a lot of debt. Now, if you have a successful business and you're not in a lot of debt, then you don't really need to watch this video because it doesn't apply to you. But maybe you're watching this and you're in a lot of debt right now, and you could have racked up that debt in many number of ways. You could have invested in business opportunities, or brought into other coaching programs, or got into network marketing programs like I did at one time, or mail order schemes like I did at one time, or I read in 900 numbers. I did everything under the sun to try to make money. I used to answer every single ad that said, "We'll teach you how to make a bunch of money and get rich." I was so ambitious in my early 20s especially that I tried everything. And in the process, before I was about 22, I racked up a debt of over $100,000, not $10,000, $100,000, 6 figures worth of debt. Now, maybe this is your case where you're in debt because you invested in a bunch of business ideas as being an entrepreneur and wanting to make a lot of money, which you're probably that kind of person because you're in this program. Now, you could have either gone that route to get you in debt, or maybe you got hit by this housing bubble that's hit a lot of people in the United States, where you got upside down your mortgage and you lost some money in investments, or maybe you were in the real estate game and you lost a lot of money. It doesn't matter. Whatever the case is, if you're in a lot of debt, I want to speak to you directly from someone that's been there and been in a lot of debt. And when I was in a lot of debt, what I went through is maybe what you're kind of feeling now. You know, I got really down on myself, and in a way I almost felt like a failure because I was in so much debt, and I kind of ignored it and used to hide from the truth, so to speak. You know, I'd get the statements and stuff, and I'd just throw them under my bed, and I'd put them in a box, and I would ignore them as if it didn't even happen. But I was under a lot of stress because I knew I was in a lot of debt, and I was tired of feeling almost like a failure. You know, I was ambitious. I wanted to do things honestly, and I wanted to be a hard worker, and I wanted to do things right, and I tried to do that many, many times, and it got me in a lot of debt. And so I was kind of at a very, very rough period of my life when I went through all that, and maybe you're feeling some of this too. And the problem with being in debt and kind of having that negative circumstance is that it can paralyze you. It can really kind of consume you. It's almost like this, force field that's holding you in one place where you can't feel, you just can't make yourself work, is what I'm getting at. You can't make yourself start doing a lot of work because it's kind of like you're stewing in your own misery. It's like you're just stuck. Well, what you need to know is a few things. First of all, that amount of debt doesn't define you as a person. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean you're a success or you're a failure or anything. It has nothing to do with that. So being in debt doesn't mean anything. If you made some bad decisions, or even if you made good decisions where other people may have taken advantage of you, none of it matters. None of it defines you as a person. That's the first thing to know. Debt is just debt. It's just a bunch of numbers. In business, that's the game we play by. And many of the most successful people in the history of the world got in a lot of debt or even filed bankruptcy more than once. Maybe you've heard of Donald Trump's story. He's worth many, many billions today. He's made and lost fortunes so many different times. I think his casinos lost billions of dollars, and other real estate projects lost billions, and then he got it back. Well, that's the nature of being an entrepreneur. You take risks, and sometimes you go through down cycles where you lose money before you get it back and usually make money. Most people lose a lot of money before they make a lot of money. And a lot of people that make money, lose it and make it many, many times throughout their lives, because as entrepreneurs, again, we're risk takers. But what you need to realize is the money doesn't define you, so there's nothing to feel bad about. It doesn't, mean anything about you individually. It's just money. They're just numbers. But the other important thing is you can't hide from the debt. Now, the one thing that changed my life when I was in a lot of debt, when I was 22 years old and had over $100-some thousand of debt, I'll never forget this night because it was a crossroads in my life, and I really want to share that with you. If you've actually never heard this part of my story, other people have probably heard me tell this before when I've spoken at seminars and such, but I want to share this for anyone that hasn't heard it. So one night around 4 o'clock in the morning when I was about 22 and all this debt, I was depressed. I was sitting in my little one-bedroom apartment. I was just unhappy with my life. I was in a lot of debt, and here my whole life I'd wanted to make a lot of money and be wealthy. And I was just so depressed I couldn't sleep. I just used to have the worst insomnia back there, and sometimes couldn't even eat. I just felt horrible about my situation. And so almost as a joke, I said, you know what, I'm going to pull this box out from under my bed that has all the bills and receipts and statements and invoices about all the money that I owe, all the money I'm in the hole negative. And I'm going to stay up and put it all into a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet on the computer, and I'm going to add up all the numbers, and I'm just going to laugh at myself and see how bad my situation is, because that's really all I have left. So I stayed up all night, never went to sleep, took about 6-7 hours. I calculated all these credit card bills and all these recent statements to figure out to the penny, to that point in time, that exact moment that evening, which became the next morning, how much money I was in debt. And when I got done, the number was like 107,000 something or other. Like, it was a big, big figure. But you know what happened the moment I looked at the bottom line and saw that total? The fear that I had, the black cloud that was over my head that was controlling me about the debt and about the money, just went away. I suddenly felt had this freedom feeling. I felt free. It was liberating. And the reason why is, and gosh, I really hate to do this, but this is really, really bad. That's why I have to kind of say this. There's an old Steven Seagal movie. I know what you're saying. I can't believe he's going to quote Steven Seagal of all people. But there's this old Steven Seagal movie. I think it was called Above the Law. One of those action movies. And in the movie, he's chasing like one of the bad guys, and the bad guy's all freaking out that he's going to get him and kill him. And to scare the bad guy, he writes on a mirror, I think with lipstick, or then again, I don't know what he was doing with lipstick, but he wrote on the mirror with something, and he wrote, "The fear of death is worse than death itself." The fear of death is worse than death itself. And that's the message you have to get. When you face the debt and you really look at it, I want you to write however much debt you're in, write that number, put it on a big piece of paper, and put it next to your computer. Face it all the time. It's nothing to be afraid of. And once you face it, you realize it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to immediately zap you with electricity and put you in pain and make you die. It's just a number. And no matter how big or how small that is, there's a strategic plan that you can use to get rid of that debt. And what you need to do is basically, as you start making a little bit of money, as your business grows, start hammering away at the debt. It'll feel good to pay off $100 and $500 and eventually $1,000 of that debt, and more until one day, and hopefully one day soon, the debt will be completely gone. And what you'll find is, which is what I found, and this is why I want to share this, because I hope it resonates with you and I hope it helps you, is that when you start paying off that debt and you approach it from a strategic standpoint, it starts to grow like a snowball. The rate at which you pay it off will accelerate. When you find yourself, when you start paying it off and paying it off and paying it off, and it becomes fun to pay it off and make that number get smaller, even if it's $100,000 and it just goes down by 500. When it gets smaller and smaller, it's very empowering. And you'll find that, I want to do another little project or launch another little product or do another little website to bring in some more income to really start knocking that number down. And guess what? Before you know it, you'll be debt-free. It's inevitable that if you keep working hard, you'll knock out that debt. It'll be gone one day in your life. It has to. That's what, working hard and being successful, that's what will do that's what it will do to that number and that process. So anyways, that's it. I just wanted to give you this message and just tell you that, hey, first of all, you're not alone. Being in a lot of debt, whatever your situation is, however you got there, you and millions of other people are in the same situation. Secondly, it doesn't define you. It doesn't have anything to do with what you're capable of or who you are as a person or just, what it holds for your future. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's only what you make it, what value it has to you in your life is what will happen. If you treat it like it's not that important, it won't be. So I want you to, if you're in debt, of course, I don't need you to comment or post and share with anyone that you're in debt or anything about your debt, of course. I mean, if you wanted to, you could, but you don't need to do that. This is just between you and yourself. But I want you to calculate to the penny every dollar that you're in debt. And I want you to write in on a big piece of paper and put it up next to your computer so you're faced with it all the time. And when you're able to pay off $5 or $10 or $100 or $500, any amount at all, scratch through that thing with a pen and write the new number. You'll feel really good about it. It will connect with your brain that it's getting better, that you're working, and that number's coming down. And it'll empower you to start knocking that thing out until it's gone. Next thing you know, you'll be in the positive and you'll be saving and building wealth for yourself. So I just wanted to create this video for anyone in debt and just tell you it's not that bad no matter how bad it is, and you can get out of it. And I believe in my heart that if you work at it and you don't let it control you, you will get out of it. So thanks for listening to this. I appreciate it.